Hey guys, today just did a little spontaneous conversation recording with my partner and a life coach, Zahra Batool. She's quite brilliant. And we're talking about the idea of prayer and God. And I thought I'd want to include you guys in this and get your thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'm exploring the basically the premise of prayer as an aspect of shadow work. I'm actually realizing that as a modality, as a system, it can be incredibly brilliant. Not because there's necessarily a god, or not necessarily like someone listening, but you're listening to you. And whatever you identify as God, those aspects of yourself, the deepest that you can reflect the idea of a compassionate and ever eternal, lasting God. Those aspects of you, I guess you could call your higher self. And so when you pray, you're appealing to your highest state of being. And when you ask for forgiveness, it grants you a very powerful permission for you to actually to have the courage to face and resolve your own shadows or integrating them. When you pray, you fully acknowledge in all honesty, and that can take you into the depths while feeling safe and secure because you know this idea of a God has you in their hands. It's actually a very powerful and brilliant system. I think prayer is misunderstood.
Prayer is misunderstood because people are too busy arguing about whether God is real or not. But it doesn't matter what your version of God looks like to you. As long as it feels real to you, then it's going to work. Then prayer is going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten lost in the details and not looked at the big picture of what prayer really is and how it changes the human mind and like the neurology and the states that we can get into just by praying.
Yeah.
Like you can say like all these mystical states or trance states, for example. How are they real if God is not real, for example? But it's not about whether God is real or not. It's about the truth of those states because those states exist. And
Well, they must. I can go back to in human history, like name one culture that didn't have some sort of reverence or idea of a god. And that means that the idea either is based fundamentally on the fact that we all know intrinsically that there is a God, or that it is absolutely a part of our psychological makeup to have a higher state or ideal or an idea of a source of things, and it's inbuilt into us. Either way, prayer becomes intrinsically useful.
yeah, I think that it's I don't think it's a testament to, oh, that means that God actually exists, or even the fact that it's built into us to see a higher power. I think that it's more to do with the ideas of worship and devotion and these patterns that humans engage in and ritual, for example. I think that's more inbuilt into us rather than the idea of a strong supreme power. Just the idea of a strong supreme power facilitates ritual and worship and devotion, but I don't think that is the one that is intrinsic to us. I think that the worship and the devotion and the ritual is what's actually intrinsic in us because those patterns are inducing certain states in us, and those states are what we've decided are helpful. Maybe we call them divine, maybe we call them ecstatic, maybe we call them spiritually connected or channeled or mystic or whatever we want to call them, but they're all a result of like ritual.
Well, there's absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing that we do that is without the foundation of pure instinct or evolutionary, like biology, the foundation and chemistry of our own minds, how we think. All of it is based on surviving traits from hundreds of thousands of years of ancestors. If you can think something, it's because it has some sort of benefit or use. Otherwise, it would not have survived the process. It would have been cast aside hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Oh, I'd like to believe that, my ideas have a lot more free will than that, but maybe there's truth to that.
Well, it's more about like the structure, the ability. You have free will in how to use those, but the existence of them in itself is proof and evidence that there's something built into us. And how we best use that is what we're really trying to figure out. And I think that the reason prayer has stuck around for so long is because it actually has use. And it comes down to that divine worship like the tribal people used to do for their ancestors or their original gods. They used to pray to them. And I think that because of our rejection of religion as a whole and the damage and trauma that some of these religions have caused people, they've rejected the fundamental use of prayer, which is a natural human instinct, which is something that is fundamental to our own healing process.
Yeah, and I think that prayer for each person looks different as well, which is why I sometimes have a problem with religion and all these rules that are enforced, like you have to look this way 10 times and then look that way another 10 times, and there's all these strict rules. And those can be great guides, but if they're not really, if everything feels forced and none of it feels natural, it's not going to help you get to that state where they're wanting you to, what they're wanting you to attain.
I find all that to be just kind of neurotic. Maybe there was a purpose for it, but then by just trying to recreate over and over and over these rituals of religion, it kind of strips you from the fundamental inherent internal systems that you have, the intimacy of it.
Yeah, like for example, I believe that when I sort of feel tired in my body, or when I feel a little bit injured and I'm recovering, my body actually naturally puts me in positions where I stretch a specific way,
Yeah.
and I move my body in a specific way. Maybe I rest in a specific way. And it's an instinctive thing that comes naturally, and it's dependent on where I'm coming from. It's not always the same every time, and I think that could be even viewed as a form of prayer or devotion to the health of the human body, or worship of movement and fluidity and flexibility. Like it could all be seen from that light if you wanted to romanticize it in that way, but it is an instinct. I agree, it's definitely part of human instinct.
I'll tell you what religion's done to me is it condemned me. See, I didn't always live the Christian lifestyle, and I've done multiple things in my life, as people do in the process of learning, that broke the tenets of God, that went against what the Christians in the Bible taught. And in doing that, there was a deep-seated teaching that means I am condemned, that I cannot be saved. And because of that belief that religion taught me, I rejected huge parts of myself and I gave up on myself, because I assume that I'm no longer in God's light. I assume that I'm doomed now, and I assume that I'm destined for hell, rejected from the light of life, from the water of God, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just now coming to terms with the fact that that is all baloney. That being a living being is being God's light. I'm living it. And all this twisting that came from religion really messed me up. And I'm trying to reverse a lot of that damage. I can take accountability for my actions of the past and allow myself to feel it and face it and be real with it and not shrink from it. I can be brave enough to just sit in it and go, I acknowledge this. I've learnt a great deal from this. It's not all negative. There are positives that came out of it too. There's strength and growth and learning, and it taught me courage, it taught me resilience. And this is all the process of the living energy itself. I've broken no fundamental living laws. I've only broken the laws of man or social contract laws or religious laws. But they're all artificial. They're all something that someone's imagined. But it's not intimate. If I allow myself to be intimately involved in the life laws or life process, then I realize that I'm actually still within it and still worthy. And it brings me back to that. And prayer actually helped me to see that, which is why I'm coming back to the prayer and saying, hey, look, actually, that was fundamentally useful. And maybe more people could engage in that and use it.
Yeah, I have a complicated relationship with prayer because for me, after losing touch with religion, I mean, prayer was something I lost touch with before I actually lost religion, because I was already not interested in it because it felt very fake to me, and it felt like it was very forced, and I didn't feel it was actually helping me connect. But what I saw was prayer was used by some people around me as an escape.
Sure.
And as a way to continue to disempower themselves and deepen themselves into the victim attitude by saying that I'm going to leave it all up to God. God knows what's best for me. I'll let God handle it all. God is going to, change the universe for me in the best way possible because I'm praying to God. And when I saw that, I realized that prayer is not something that I resonate with. Prayer, I started hating even the idea of prayer. I saw it as a disempowering tool, and I saw people who engaged in it as weak and cowardly, and some people who were just looking for an escape and looking for the path of least resistance. They wanted to feel good about themselves without actually doing the work and trying to take action. They thought prayer was the action, and that's where I have a problem with prayer.
Opium can be used to numb the pain of someone who's severely injured to help save their life, or it could be used to drug yourself and escape reality. I think that it's one of those things where it really depends on how it's being used. And I think that doesn't make the opioid inherently useless just because some people abuse it. It actually is incredibly useful.
So what you're saying, religion is the opium of the masses?
I guess I'm re-saying the same thing that many people have said. It can be. It depends on how we intend it and use it. And I think that people who escape are often the most damaged. And maybe for all the escape that they're doing and the lack of facing themselves, and maybe on some level, though, it is still doing them some good because it's giving them some quality of life that they're denying to themselves. And that's what they really want.
It's a temporary band-aid sometimes, and it can be addictive. That's where I have an issue, where it becomes so addictive that you think, I'm a good person because I'm so close to God and I'm religious and I'm following the Bible or whatever book you want to follow, and I'm following the rules, and anyone who isn't, they will get their day of judgment and all this. And you live life in this self-assured, like, I don't know, I'm probably coming from a judgmental place, but it's...
Yeah, you're living your day of judgment. You've become the judge. Your ways are better. As difficult as it is to hear that, we all kind of do that. We all think that our ways are better, smarter, more evolved. Because you're supposed to love yourself and live with yourself. Not everyone walks the same path. There's an old Indian saying, which I absolutely love. Do not judge me unless you have walked 1,000 miles in my moccasins. It means that basically no one has ever been in each other's shoes, so it's impossible to judge. You've seen bad behavior. You've seen things that are obviously inherently invaluable. But try not to judge. They're in pain. You know that. It's because you love them. That's why you care.